Hey guys, GradysMom here with Cooking Series Volume 13. This is a dish which I don't really know what exactly I'm going to call it. My mom made this a lot growing up, except instead of ham, she used pork, like pork loin. And it's sort of just a dish with potatoes and cabbage and some kind of meat. Again, I'm using ham steak. My mom used pork loin. And it has like a honey mustard based sauce with some spices, and I just have an egg here because you put a fried egg on top of each portion. So obviously I'm just going to show you guys when I plate up one portion what that would look like, but obviously the amount of people, you know, servings you were making, you would just pretty much take an egg for each serving because you put the fried egg on each serving. So for this recipe, you're going to need cabbage. I have a Napa cabbage here, which is an Asian cabbage. You can use regular cabbage or this, or pretty much any kind of cabbage that you like. I'm going to use 1 Honeycrisp apple. I'm going to use 2 small ham steaks. These are small 8-ounce guys. I'm just going to cut those up. They're just smoked ham steaks. I'm going to use some potatoes, not all of these, but some of these. 1 small cooking onion, and then to make the sauce, we're going to need honey. I just have some organic wildflower honey here. We're going to use mustard. I think the brown mustard is much better than the yellow for this sauce. So the honey and the mustard is what makes the sauce. You're going to need some garlic powder, some parsley, a little bit of oil of your choice to fry the potatoes and the cabbage and the meat in, and then I'm going to use some black pepper. Probably going to use some salt too, but I didn't grab it because you're not going to use that much. So let's just say salt and pepper. So I'm going to go ahead first and get the potatoes, the ham, the cabbage, and the apple, and the onion prepped to go into the skillet, and then we'll make the sauce separately. Okay, so cutting boards out. I have my cabbage over here. That is sort of shredded, you know, in a chunky way, because cabbage wilts down really well, especially that Asian cabbage. So the first thing I want to work on are the potatoes, because those are going to go into the frying pan first, since they obviously take the longest to cook. And I'm going to use about 6 small potatoes. So these are not big ones. So first I'm just going to trim off any little imperfections. I don't trim every single imperfection, but just anything that looks like, you know, something like that right there, that little growth, if you will. I just trim those off, but I do leave a majority of the skin on. Yeah, I have a 3-year-old next to me watching me very intently. Hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, and whether there's kids there or not, guys, right?
Guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
Are you saying guys? Guys? Say hi, guys. Okay, so that looks pretty good, guys, just to clean, you know, for them to be, the potatoes to be cleaned up a little bit and have any, you know, weird imperfections off. I'm going to cut these fairly on the small side. Not super small, but I'll give you an overview. Just because they do take a little while to cook. Alright, so I'm going to finish the potatoes only, just the potatoes off camera. I just don't want to waste precious time, because you guys see the size, and of course I'll show you everything before we go into the skillet. So let me go ahead and finish these real quick, and I'll be right back with you for the onion, the ham, and the apple. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I have my potatoes here all diced up. Since these take quite a bit longer than everything else, I'm going to go ahead and get these into my skillet here. I'm going to get my pan on medium high, I'm going to add a little bit of grapeseed oil in here and get these frying up while I am finishing prepping the rest of the ingredients. Okay guys, so the oil is in the hot pan, and I'm going to grab my pepper because we're going to need to salt and pepper the potatoes. And you're going to want to let the pan always, no matter what you're frying, heat up before you put the vegetables or the meat in, because otherwise it'll soak up that oil and be gross. So I'm going to do some salt, the pepper, and just let these do their thing, and I'm going to go back and prep the rest of my stuff. Alright guys, so while the potatoes are going, I'm going to go ahead and get the ham cut up here. And if possible, if you can have something cooking while you're prepping, do it, because it's going to cut time and it just makes sense because the potatoes take longer. So why not get a head start on those? And all you got to do is just remember that they're on the stove and give them a stir every once in a while. And eventually it could get to the point where they're done and waiting for you, and you've got everything else done. So it's just kind of a little tip to do other things while you're prepping rather than just letting them sit there. So I'm going to put the ham on the plate with the cabbage because those are going in at the same time. The cabbage, the apples, and the ham are going in at the same time. And I'm going to do both of these packages because they're small, guys. These are just an 8-ounce ham steak. And even though it's just for my husband and I, they'll be really good leftovers. This is something that I would eat for lunch. Quickly, I'm just going to stir the potatoes. Multitasking here. Okay, I gave the potatoes a little stir. Finish getting the ham cut up here. I ate this dish a lot, especially in the fall, but my mom would make it, like I said earlier, with pork loin, and it was super good. I think she actually did make it with ham, like leftover ham, like a baked ham. But I have made it with pork like her, but usually I make it with ham steak. I really like ham steak, and since I don't make whole baked hams because it's just my husband and I like ham steaks because I don't get ham. Next up, I'm going to move on to the Honeycrisp apple. Might want to take that sticker off, or that would be not so tasty of a bite. Potatoes are already smelling good. Let's see here. I really like apples with cabbage. It's just one of those combos that I personally just like together. And this is such a nice fall dish. And I am leaving the apple skins on. I know some people don't like apple skins in recipes. That's completely fine. If you want to go ahead and peel it, that's fine. I'm just more of like a rustic person where I like potato skins and apple skins and things like that. But if you want to go ahead and take the skin off, that is no problem at all. It's all preference. It's still going to taste good. Let me just give these potatoes one quick toss. And they still have a ways to go, because potatoes, as you guys know, take a little while to soften up. So again, all of this, as you guys can see, is very rough, chunky, imperfect, because that's just how I roll. I'm just not one of those people that's gonna freak out about everything being perfect. I don't even know if you guys can see this big plate I have going there. It's pretty heaping. Excuse the dishes in the sink, just keeping it real. Onion is last, and then we're going to move on to the sauce. And again, I'm going to do the onion a little bit on the chunky side. Actually, I think I'm going to do it sliced rather than chunks. So just kind of slices like that, guys. Hopefully you can see. Add this to the plate. And I'm going to get everything set up now for us to make the sauce. Alright, so I just have like a standard sized bowl, like a soup bowl, if you will. And I'm going to start out first by getting my honey in here. I'm trying really hard not to laugh at the noise it's making because that would be really immature of me, but it's kind of funny. I'm not going to lie. Alright, so let's see. I'm guessing I'm probably going to use all the honey in this container, which was only about, I don't know, less than half full. So I'm just going to keep that tipped upside down to let the rest of it get to the bottom. I'll give my mustard a shake again. You're going to want to use brown mustard. I don't think this would be good with yellow mustard, just being honest. Of course, I'll have all the measurements typed up down below. I've just made this so many times, I just eyeball things. Next up, guys, the garlic powder. You're gonna make sure you're not using garlic salt. I've made that mistake before in recipes. And yeah, parsley for a little green. Let's check on how my honey's doing. So yeah, this was less than half full, and I'm gonna kill this bottle right now. All right, let me stir my potatoes really quick. All right, guys, before I stir this up, I want to show you what's going on over here. Let me get my spoon. So these are not done because we don't want them to get to the point of being done. We want them just so they're just softening up. So not to the point where you would want to eat them. They're still hard, if that makes sense, but they're just starting to kind of lose that rough around the edges feel. So now, being we're at that point, I'm going to go ahead and get the onion in first. The apples, kind of grabbing handfuls off that heaping plate so I can get it to the point where I can pour everything in off the plate. So we got the apples going in, the ham chunks. Mainly I want to get pretty much all of the ham and apples in real quick. My hands are clean, by the way. I need a bigger skillet, I think. Okay, so we have those in. Remember, the potatoes are on the bottom, so they're getting all the weight of this now, and they're going to brown much quicker because of all the weight on it. So now, I'm going to take some of my cabbage here and put that on. And the cabbage wilts down a lot. So this is what's left on the plate. Let me just grab these few stray pieces of ham and apple. This is what's left on the plate. Just going to let this do its thing for just a couple minutes and then give it a toss and then get the rest of this on. But I want to let this kind of wilt down a little bit from the heat. So let's move back over to the sauce here. I am just going to use a regular old teaspoon. So the honey is very thick, as you guys know. So I'm just kind of working that honey into the mustard. And this is actually the perfect consistency. Not bad for just eyeballing it. Again, I've made this so many times that this was actually one of the first things, the first dishes that I used pork that I ever cooked on my own when I was, I don't know, 12, 13. Like, I think this was the first thing I made for like my family, like as a dinner, and I remember it. And I was probably in like 6th or 7th grade. And that was a long time ago. That was over 20 years ago. All right, so see how it's coming together, guys? And it's that nice consistency now rather than being kind of goopy. So that is a great consistency. So this can just kind of sit out and do its thing. This pan looks ready. Sounds ready, at least. Let me go ahead and adjust my tripod here. Not wanting to cooperate. Alright, so I finally got my tripod to cooperate. So, now, we're going to move everything on the bottom to the top, and the potatoes are nice and brown now. They've made some progress. Really hoping you guys can see everything here. So now we want to get everything else nice and brown and catching up with the potatoes. Now the ham is fully cooked, the ham steak. We just want to get it nice and golden brown. And it really, I think, unleashes its flavors more, ham steak and just ham in general, when it has like a little bit of a crust on it. So I'm just kind of working everything, like you guys can see, in together, and the cabbage is already wilting. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of that cabbage on top. And then I'm going to work this in too. The apples smell really, really good in here. I think my mother used Granny Smith apples, and not all of the time, but I think like traditionally, like when the recipe originated, I guess, from my mom. I'm assuming she made it up. I mean, I was a kid, so I don't know for sure. I believe she used Granny Smith apples, but honestly, I think any apple would be good as long as it's not like a mushy, overripe apple. You definitely want a crisp apple that's in season. But I love Honey Crisp apples. They're so nice, so good. Alright guys, so my sauce is sitting in the wings waiting to go. I'm just going to let this do its thing for, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes, show you what it looks like. We're going to add the sauce, bring it all together. It's super delicious, and I'll be back shortly. Alright guys, so about 5 minutes have gone by, and what you're looking for is for the ham to be just slightly browned around the edges, the cabbage to be wilting, the apples to be softening. Obviously the potatoes, you guys know, were good to go. So now it's time to add our sauce. I'm just going to give it a quick little kind of stir to loosen it up, and then I'm just going to kind of pour it all over. And you want to try and get every last drop. So you're going to try and really scrape out, using your spoon, all that sauce. And I personally love honey mustard anything. I love to dip things in honey mustard. I love honey mustard on salads. And I like making my own honey mustard. And you guys saw how easy it was versus buying it pre-made. I'm going to turn my heat down to medium now because pretty much it's almost cooked. So now we want to fold everything in and get the flavors of that sauce coating. Not swimming, just coating. We want it to be sort of a subtle flavor, but also defined, but not overpowering. And just all of these flavors work so well together. The honey, the mustard, the apples, and the cabbage, the smoky ham, and the potatoes are just classic. And see how wilted that cabbage is, guys? It's like down to nothing now. And the nice thing about this dish is I really like the balance that everything has, meaning there's not too much cabbage, there's not too much potatoes. It's almost like everything in a weird way has equal parts and sort of contributes its own thing, rather than, you know, like I said, too much cabbage or too much potatoes, or I don't know. It's just I just love this dish in the fall, and I mean, I like it all year, but my mom really made it a lot in the fall. And I loved this dish so much. I believe my mother also added caraway seeds to this dish. I don't have those, but I remember her adding those, and I always loved that little touch, so I might have to pick some of those up. All right, so again, I turned my heat down to medium. I'm gonna turn it down a teeny more so it's like just under medium, because we're almost ready here. So I'm just gonna let this do its thing, let the flavors of the sauce marinate, everything finish cooking, and then we'll be good to get our fried egg going, and I'll show you how adorable and delicious it looks when we're all plated up. All right, guys, so this is pretty much done. So I took it off the heat and I just put it on a different burner and just letting it hang out in that pan. Let me just fix this tripod. And I have a smaller pan here, and it's not dirty. I just made a scrambled egg for my son a little while ago. It's morning. And so I'm just gonna use the same pan because it was just a scrambled egg in there. So I have this pan now on almost high. I'm gonna go ahead and get a pat of butter, and I have my egg. Gotta wait for the butter to melt. I'm gonna do a nice fried egg. Now you'll do 1 fried egg per person. Obviously, if you want to, have 2, but I usually just do 1 fried egg kind of per serving. So we're gonna fry this baby up. Okay, I like to salt and pepper my egg. You don't have to, but I just like to do a little pinch, a little sprinkle of salt, a little sprinkle of pepper. That's just me. Grabbing a spatula. Screaming hot pan. And then very gently flip it over. That. And then I'm going to turn the heat off because I like it yolky. If you don't like it yolky, that is completely fine. But I like it when you push that, the yolk comes out. That's just me. So, just going to let it keep cooking away for just a few, not even a minute, guys. And then I'm going to get everything plated up and show you what it looks like. Okay, guys, so I like to serve this dish in like flat bowls like this. Tastes so good. So, everything came together really nicely. I tested it and it was delicious. It didn't need any more salt or pepper. So just make sure you do your own little taste test to make sure it doesn't need more salt or pepper for your family's preference. And then I just place the fried egg on top, and I like to just poke it, and then all the yolk comes out like that. And I like to sort of like take a bite like this, like a spoonful, and dip it in the yolk. But I'm a big egg yolk person. If you are not, you can skip the egg, or you can just fry the egg so the yolk is hard and it's not runny like this, but I like the yolk. So, this is volume 13, and again, I don't know what I'm going to call this yet. I'll have to ask my mom what she calls it, but I sort of just refer to it as a ham and cabbage honey mustard dish with cabbage and apples, and all the flavors, like I said, work really well together, and it's just a really, really great comforting fall, winter, or all year round dish. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will see you all in my very next video. Bye, guys.